Okay, I would like to welcome everybody to this webinar on open meetings. Iowa Code Chapter 21 will be presented by Brian Badesky. And as usual, everybody's muted to minimize the background noise. But if you have questions, you can just raise your hand symbol on there. You can click or type something into the chat box. And Brian, I don't know if you want to address when you want to address questions, but you can let them know that.
Yep, and there's some limitations on the questions. This is governed by the Public Information Board, so anything too fact-specific I wouldn't be able to answer, but I can get to the general questions about procedures and things like that. Are we ready? All right. This presentation was created by the Iowa Public Information Board. It's not great for a presentation, but it's a good reference piece. And so I might be skipping through some of the stuff, but there's a lot of valuable information here that you might want to look over. Right in the code section 21.1, there's a presumption of openness. So if you ever have any questions, you want to probably err on the side of caution and ensure that your meeting is open. Well, history, law's been around for a long time. Public Information Board is now active, and they are in charge of Chapter 21 and Chapter 22, which is open meetings, and then open records is Chapter 22. And to who does this chapter apply? Well, you can see here an AG opinion from 1984. An area agency on aging is subject to the open meeting requirements. This here specifically addresses the board of directors. This also applies to committees of the board. If there's A, a majority, or B, it was formally and directly created by the government body. This can be either done through board resolution, in your meeting, your articles of incorporation, or through your bylaws. An advisory board is subject to these rules if it is directly created by statute. And if we look at Iowa Code section 231.33, subsection 6, area agencies on aging are required to establish an advisory council. And this is some best practice advice from the Iowa Public Information Board. It doesn't hurt to have an open meeting. There's no requirement that you close these and presume that a meeting's open. What is a meeting? As defined, a meeting is a gathering, either electronic or in person, formal or informal, with a majority of the members when there's deliberation or action on any matter within scope of the government's policy-making duties. I put a little note on there. There's House File 2019, which would pretty much eliminate that last element where just it would need to be a gathering of the government body. And then kind of stepping back to the electronic means, conference calls. In order to have a meeting by conference call, you would need to provide public access, follow the notice requirements, which we're going to go over in a little bit, and explain why a meeting in person was impossible or impractical. practical. Social gatherings, as I noted, House File 2019, this might do away with this, but if it's just for social purposes, you don't need to follow the open meeting requirements, but be careful on what you're discussing, not to discuss matters within the policy-making authority. Serial emailing, that is not technically illegal, but be careful in the manner in which it's performed. I think one of the big factors here is how quickly you're talking back and forth. If it's almost an instant messaging type of conversation, that might violate the rules. Does the public have the right to speak? No. Giving notice. Meetings must be preceded by 24 hours notice explaining the date, time, place, and having a tentative agenda of the meeting. Best practices, try to inform everybody you can. Make sure everybody's aware of your meetings. An agenda, how specific does it need to be? Well, it needs to be sufficient to alert interested people about the subjects that will be discussed. Emergency actions are okay unless such an emergency action can be deferred. You should also distinguish your open and closed session items in your agenda so people are aware. Must also keep minutes at your meetings. Minutes should include the date, time, place, the members that are present, any actions that were taken, and the members that voted which way on a non-unanimous vote. Can secret votes be taken? No. Suppose you want to close this session. Well, there's only a limited number of reasons you can do that. Some of the ones that would apply to the area agencies would be if you have pending litigation, you can discuss that with counsel. You can discuss security procedures that you want to keep private for emergency situations. Evaluations of personnel and the possible real estate purchase. And kind of the nuts and the bolts for the closed session, to get into the closed session, as we noted before in the agenda, you should have gave notice that you were going to close part of the session. Then make sure you're checking the statute so you're complying with one of the reasons you can go into closed session. Then when you're in the meeting, announce and record the reason in the minutes why you're going into closed session. Take an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members, and then you can close the session. Once you're in the closed session, make sure you keep records. Detailed minutes and a tape recording must be kept. And you can keep that sealed. And the discussion needs to stay focused only on the issue that you cited in the minutes can be discussed in the closed session. And any final action must happen in open session. Yeah. And you see here, inside the closed session, no additional topics must be recorded, and final action has to happen in the open session. I can't read that. Can you read that to me? Hang on.
Session, can you discuss personnel issues such as the evaluation of an executive director?
Oh, perfect. I've got a slide for that. Come up right here. Oh. To go through an employee evaluation, all 4 of these criteria must be met. Must involve the evaluation of professional competency, involve consideration, performance. It would have to involve something that would cause needless and irreparable injury, and the individual that involves must be the one that requests the closed session. I hope that answers that question. No. Yeah, if there's a specific issue on there, if it's a fact-specific question, Iowa Public Information Board would be a good place to request an opinion on that. If it's a procedural issue, I would be happy to help you with that. All right. And just a reminder, nothing requires the government body to hold a closed session. Well, what happens if you don't follow these rules? Well, each member of the governing body can be fined between $100 and $500 for an unknowing violation. For a knowing violation, it's between $1,000 and $2,500 per member. The agency might also be responsible for payment of reasonable attorney fees and trial costs, and that's this is information put in by the Public Information Board. A lot of information there. If you have questions or concerns about open records, their website is an excellent resource. They give advisory opinions. There's frequently asked questions, a number of good resources there.
So the follow-up to the question on personnel, rather than having a closed session, can they ask the executive director to leave and remain in the open session?
Yeah, there's no requirement that an employee, since they're not a member of the general public, you can direct them. They would be the governing body that could direct their behaviors. And that would be fully within their authority. Just another reminder, ambiguity in the construction or application of this chapter should be resolved in the favor of openness. And here's the link to the website. We have a lot of good information, frequently asked questions, and if you need a fact-specific question answered, they respond very quickly. And I think that's about all I have, unless somebody has other questions. We have the presentation. I think Jane has sent it out to everybody that was registered. We can send it out again, though, I think.
Yeah, I had forwarded the slides to executive directors. that they can pass it on to people. Otherwise, it will be posted on our website today. And there's a link on our website to, I think it's under documents, and I have to document center webinars, documents under go ahead and put it there. On the IDA website under document center and webinars. Any other questions? Have the electronic file over a tape file.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There was a question here about the types of files you need to save. I'm not sure on the different nuances of the electronic filing or saving the electronic communications. I'm going to move up here closer.
The sessions need to be recorded, but it's not clear what kind of audio recording.
Yeah, I don't have any guidance as far as what type of audio recording is needed.
The Public Information Board could clarify that.
Yeah.
And then Connie has a question about explaining more fully the publishing of minutes in appropriate newspapers.
That would be a question for the Public Information Board if you are subject to that publishing requirement or not. When recording a session, you have WAV file. Yeah, the .wav file, I'm not sure on the type of filings you need to save and what kind of audio recording you need.
Do you know which kind of organizations are required to publish their minutes?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. That'd be a good question for the Public Information Board.
I think some of these slides were directly from presentations that the Public Information Board
Yep, this is yeah.
Information that they were sharing.
We were required to use Public Information Board slides, so that's where these are all from, and that's why it's a better resource than it is a presentation specifically for this issue.
We have a question about open records, and I can see if you want to answer that. We are expecting to do also a separate webinar that will address open records more specifically. But I don't know if you want to address this now or not, but if an agency in the community asks for a copy of the competitive bid funding application, that falls under open records law.
Well, open records applies the same way open meetings does. So if you can cite a specific exemption to the open records law, then you could. And if you can't, then it probably is subject to the open records law. And that would be more of a fact-specific question. All the open meetings requirements do apply to the AAAs. There may be an issue or two in here that if it's not, there's not a specific law attached to it, it may not apply to a AAA.
The open and closed meeting requirements.
Yeah. And as we saw in the beginning, this applies to the boards. This applies to any committee directly created by the board. And this applies to any advisory council created by statute, which is 231.33 subsection 6 requires the AAAs to create an advisory council.
So basically they are subject to pretty much anything around open records around open meetings and closed meetings, giving notice of the meeting, publishing agendas, and recording closed meetings, having minutes for all meetings. And I guess the question is just about publishing minutes. Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, and so essentially, give notice, keep meetings open, record your minutes. And if you do have to go into closed session, make sure you can cite a specific statute. I think that'd be the gist of it.
Do you have any additional questions? And again, the Iowa Public Information Board. Is it required for meeting minutes and agendas to be posted to websites?
Yeah, that is a question I would submit to the Public Information Board if you want to have a question about that, because they're the ones that created that slide and gave that guidance. So I'm not going to contradict anything that they have given us as a resource here.
Again, I think it's definitely a best practice, and then maybe just Public Information Board can check on.
Oh, going back, the question was, is it required for meeting minutes and agenda to be posted on websites? At a bare minimum, that's best practice. On the other side, the Public Information Board included it in their materials. So if you have a question about that, I would ask them for specific guidance on that issue. I don't want to interpret specific facts or guidance they have given. Well, I thank you all very much for your time. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any specific procedure-related questions, I'd be happy to help you. If not, as I said, the Public Information Board is very helpful and respond quickly to any questions that you would have. Thank you.
Thank you, and you can also address any feedback or questions regarding this, past webinars, or any recommendations for future webinars to me, Jane Erickson. Thank you.